Welcome to Yoga with Lynn on a Monday morning. And as you move today, know that you're practicing yoga at your own risk. Notice how everything feels, and if anything doesn't feel right for your body today, then make any adjustments or take a rest. And for today's class, we're going to use a couple of props. We're going to need a belt. And if you don't have a yoga belt, that's fine. You may have a tie, you may have a belt from a dressing gown, something like that. And we're going to use a block. If you don't have a block, a pillow is good. We also want another pillow or cushion. So I've got a meditation cushion that's nice and firm because it's going to give me some support. So if you've got a really squidgy pillow, have a couple of pillows. If you don't have a block, then another pillow as well. Once you've got your bits and pieces, have a lie down on your back, make yourself comfortable. So the position that you lie down is your choice. But just take a moment to notice what the position is that you've chosen. You don't have to move, but you can move if you feel uncomfortable in any way. So you've got the whole of the floor underneath the back of your body. Bring your attention to the movement that your body makes as you breathe. And in feeling that movement that your body makes, notice that you're now in control of the pace and the depth that you breathe. We're very much controlled by our breath, so when we become tense and anxious, the breathing becomes shallow and unsmooth. When we relax, our breathing relaxes as well. It slows down, becomes more smooth. So it's like the body makes the breath do something. But similarly, we've got control of the breath. So if we can slow down our breathing and make it smooth, we can convince our body that that's the attitude or the emotion that it needs to follow as well. And not just the body, but the mind as well. Bring your arms in by your sides. Keep your slow pace of breath, and the next time you take a breath in, you're going to take your arms up to the ceiling and then over beyond your head. As you breathe out, your arms come back down by your sides. So that same movement with every breath. Smooth breath, smooth arms. And next time your arms are by your sides, let them rest there. This time reach your arms up towards the ceiling and interlock your fingers. Then turn your palms up towards the ceiling. Straighten your arms and just allow them to float back towards the wall behind, keeping your elbows straight. Doesn't matter how far they go, you're just experimenting. Can the elbows stay tight? And then bring your feet together, push your heels away, pull your toes up towards you, and then spread your toes wide. Nice. Release your hands, relax your feet, bring your arms back down by your sides. Bend your knees, feet onto the mat, and then both knees up onto your chest, hands around your knees, have a rock side to side. Come to rest at the centre. Bring your feet back down onto the floor, and then roll to the side where you've got space, or your right side if you have the choice, and then come all the way up to standing for our salute to the sun. So you want to be stood at the front end of your mat, looking out over the edge. So you stay standing there. I'm just going to face you for a moment, just to think about our standing position. Starting at the ground with your feet firm on the floor, and your feet can be together or they can be a bit apart, that's okay, whatever feels most comfortable for your legs. A lift up through your inner legs, as if you've got a zip up from your ankles right up to your, even up right up inside your rib cage, up through the centre. Zip it right up, and hold the zip down with the inner edges of your feet as well as the outside edges. Sometimes the outside edges want to grip the floor, but it's even throughout. So that zip goes right up behind the front of your ribs. And then your shoulders can relax heavy. Crown of your head lifts, your chin's parallel to the floor. And then feel your arms. Feel how there's a gentle bend in your arms. Just straighten your elbows. So your shoulders are still relaxed. Maybe the top tips of your arm bones and the shoulders, just the top tips of your arms, just a centimetre closer to the wall behind, to keep your chest open, but straight through your elbows, so there's some energy in your arms. And then keeping your arms straight, just take them straight out in front, so you can see your elbows. And then bring them right up to the top. Keep them straight. It doesn't matter if they go out a little bit, and it doesn't matter if they don't go vertical. Hold the rest of the body as it was, so that zip right up behind the front of your rib cage, still zipped right up. Elbows still straight. So stretching your arms doesn't contort the rest of your body, but your fingers are reaching as high to the ceiling as you can. And then look up between your fingers. Now we're going to reach the arms back and wide. So keep them stretched. Let the centre of your chest reach up towards the ceiling. Shoulders still away from your ears. Zip still lifting you right up to that same place. And then look forwards, reach up. Find that same reach with the stretch of your arms. And take a forward fold. So go easy at first, bend your knees. Bring your fingers down onto the floor. And then relax your shoulders, your head and neck. If your knees have to splay wide to the side, then take your feet wider. That's absolutely fine. We're going to step back with the right foot into a lunge. So a long stride back, and then lift your chest, look forwards. Left foot back to down face dog. So ground is all important that's the only place really where we can make a difference. We can't move anything else unless we're firm to the ground. Tummy button to spine, slide forwards to plank. Gently place your knees on the floor. Smoothly lower your front body down. Be aware that your elbows aren't going any wider. Roll your shoulders back. Take a lift of your chest. Back down at the floor. Push up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes under. Lift into down face dog. So find your best down face dog position. You can step your feet to a more comfortable position if you want to. You're going to walk through the legs. So one knee bends, one leg stretches. The idea is that you focus on the straight leg each time. Keeping your hips lifted as much as you can. So looking through towards your knees is a good way to keep your hips lifted, is to look back. And then stretch both legs. Feel the length of the back of your legs. Weight on the left foot, look between your hands. Step your right foot through to a lunge. You're going to spring off the back foot, bring it forwards, forward fold. As much knee bend as you like. And we want to come up without hurting the back, without overusing the lower back. So a deep bend of your knees, keep your hips down low, keep your hips there, just lift your shoulders. So it's almost a back arch. Your back's in its standing up position. You just have to straighten your legs. Stretch your arms tall above you, bring your palms together this time. And then keep your height as you slide your palms down. Lift your arms again. Straight elbows. Zip up through the centre line to right up inside your rib cage. Energized arms. Look up, reach back and wide. It's like you still make that zip up and you just tilt back above that zip. Look forwards, reach up. Forward fold. Left leg back to a lunge. Lift your chest, look forwards. Right foot back to down face dog. Tummy button to spine. This is when you feel the ground underneath you. Keep that feeling of groundedness as you slide forwards to plank. The more you press down, the less effort it feels to hold that lift. And if you're feeling strong, keep your knees lifted, otherwise knees down on the floor. Smooth lower down of your front body. Roll your shoulders back. Lift your chest. Look back down, hands and knees. Tuck your toes under, down face dog, and again, adjust if you need to with your feet, so that if you pull your heels to the ground, they won't quite reach. Tummy button to spine. Find that straightness in your legs and pull your heels back away from your toes as if you're stretching your feet longer. Feel how your legs get involved in that stretch. So feel it in your calves. Can you even extend it right up to the tops of the backs of your legs? Weight on your right foot, look between your hands. Step the left foot through. And then spring off the right foot. Step it forwards, forward fold. Same way to come back up. So a deep bend of your knees, hips down low, shoulders lift. And then you straighten your legs to come up. Palms together, big reach, palms slide down. And do it all again in time with the breath. Inhale to lift up. Exhale, back bend. Inhale, up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, right leg back to a lunge. Exhale, down face dog. Inhale, plank. Option to drop the knees here if you like. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, down face dog. So have a moment to get into your down face dog. Find your best position. Feel your feet and hands grounded on the floor. Tummy button to spine. Hips nice and high. And then lengthening your feet again. Pull your heels back. Pull your heels back. And then feel the backs of your legs. Get a stretch through the calves, get a stretch through the backs of the thighs. And then weight on your left foot, look between your hands. Take a breath in as your right foot steps forwards. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, stand up. Palms together, exhale, palms down. Breath in, breath out. Inhale, lift your arms, smooth, continuous movements. Exhale, up and over, back bend. Inhale, reach up again, stretch your arms. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, left leg back. Exhale, down face dog. Inhale, plank. Option to drop your knees. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, down face dog. So our final down face dog. Same again though, tummy button to spine, hands and feet firm down. And a pulling back of your heels, a pulling back of your calves, a pulling back of the thighs. Feel how your arms and hands get involved in that pulling back action. So you don't have to think about the thighs pulling back so much. You can just make that action with your hands. And then they float back. You need to hold them steady to hold them back. So one more breath there. And then weight on your right foot. Look between your hands. Breath in, left foot through. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, stand up. Palms together. Exhale, palms to your heart center. Breath in here. And a breath out. Then step your feet a little bit apart. Rest your arms. Just give your body a moment to let everything settle. So to take our balance today, trying to think where you might want a wall if you want to be by a wall. I suspect by your side, but what I would like you to do, I'm going to do a dive as if, balance as if we're divers. Where shall I go? I might go a little bit side on. So I'll show you what we're going to do, and then you can see where you might want to hold on to something. But I want to show you how we're going to do it because I want you to see how we're going to come up out of it, because once you're in it you can't look forwards at the screen. I want to show you before we go so that it's coming up from a forward fold is always a pressure point on the lower back. So if what I do doesn't look like it would suit you, that's where you make your adjustment. Maybe do it like we do in the salute to the sun, or maybe tuck everything under and roll your back and roll up. But what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that we're on a cliff's edge and your mat, mine's red, wish I'd chosen a blue one, is the sea below, and you're going to tilt forwards. It's like a diver's position, so you've got a flat back. Going to take the arms behind as well, look down, and from there to come back up, we're going to take a bend of the knees, straighten the arms, and then the arms, nothing happens in my body, just my arms. See my arms go forwards. They come to a point where I can't take them any higher. but I'm just going to think about my arms still, take my arms higher and let my body come up with my arms. So I'm not thinking about my body lifting, I'm lifting my arms and my body has no choice but to lift. So if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Come up a different way. And the balance isn't too challenging because it's like a forward fold. You can put your fingers on the floor if you want a bit of extra support, I would say would be best. So stand behind your mat. You don't have to stand behind your mat. It's almost like we're at school, isn't it? Doing something to imaginary seascape. But it's kind of quite nice too. And the advantage is it's easier on the floor than on the mat. So if you want to stand on your mat, you can do that, of course. Then take your arms out wide to the side and then turn them palm face up. And as you turn them palm face up, the whole length of your arm rotates that way. So the bendy bit of your inner elbow is pointing up to the ceiling. Your armpits are rolling forwards. You're going to try and keep that, because if you keep your arms rotated like that, it's very difficult to round your back. That's what we're trying to avoid. So keep the arms rotated back to keep the chest lifted. When we come into the forward fold, you're going to want to collapse your chest a bit, so that's going to remind you not to. So feet together or just a little bit apart. Stand tall. We're going to forward fold by hinging from the hips. So breath in, think about your front body being long. And then as you exhale, hinge forward slowly. Keep your arms rotated up to keep your chest lifted. Tummy button to spine. Just see how far you want to go. You might have found your limit already. You maybe go a little bit further. Bring your gaze to somewhere down in front of your feet, so on your mat, and then allow your arms, they can change their rotation now if you want, just to float behind you, so they're reaching out to the wall behind. You're lifting them slightly up as well. Tummy button to spine, you might have forgotten that. Just like you're about to dive into that deep blue sea. If it feels okay, you may want to lift your heels. Come up onto tiptoes. That's where the challenge is. Chest stays lifted, heels high, tummy button lifted. And then as you bring your heels back down on the floor, take a good bend of your knees. Stretch your arms out behind. Remember, your arms are going to bring you up. So keep them straight. Rotate them down towards the floor and then up in front of you, and then let them lift you up. Don't make the effort with your body, make the effort with your arms. All the way to the top. When you get to the top, bring your arms back down. Lovely. So it doesn't have to be slow, but it has to be your arms doing the effort and your body just coming along. If it didn't feel good, do something different the next time. But we're going to go one more time. Arms out to the side. Rotate your arms up. So if you found that fairly easy on the balance, we're going to lift onto tiptoes here, and we're going to hinge in tiptoes. If you'd rather lift onto tiptoes once we've gone over, I'll give you that option when we get there. So don't lift up here if you don't feel balanced. Tummy button to spine. Keep that lift in your chest. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, hinge from the hips. Keep your arms rotated up as much as you can as you go down. So keep your front body feeling long. Remember, you're diving from that cliff edge. When you've got to your maximum place, fix your gaze in the appropriate place. Swim your arms around, float your arms around. Shoulders away from the floor, like they're squeezing up. If you want, you can lift your heels here. Tummy button to spine. About to dive in. You have the choice whether to dive in or not. And then heels to the floor, knees bend. Deep knee bend. And then your arms move down, forwards. They're going to lift you all the way up. Not too slow. And then bring your arms by your sides. Lovely. We're moving on to the floor. So we're going to lie down on our fronts. And as you lie down on your front, as ever, make a pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead on your pillow. Have a few breaths there. Make sure that your block and your pillow are to hand. Your block and your cushions are to hand. You won't be able to reach them from where you are. But don't worry about them for now. Oops, not the camera. I'm going to practice bow pose this morning with a bit of assistance. So the way we're going to do it, we normally don't do it with any props, but today we're going to use a bit of a prop underneath our chest. So come up onto hands and knees. Paddy, see what we're going to do, because I know you don't like hands and knees, and then adjust as you want to. So I think you need a block and a cushion, but I understand if you don't have a block and a cushion, have a couple of cushions underneath you, and I'll show you what we're going to do. You're going to lie down so that, I'll show you when I'm lying down, so that your hips are down on the floor, but this is underneath my lower ribs. So I'm kind of supported. It's like Sphinx pose, but I'm completely supported. That's why you need maybe a couple of cushions, because I know cushions collapse a bit. That's why I suggest a block on the bottom as well, because it kind of gives you that firmness of lift. It doesn't matter how low it is really, and the higher it is, as long as it's comfortable, just the more support it's going to give you. So find your best supported place, and your legs are parallel. So you're starting as if you're in Sphinx pose. We want to have the tailbone lengthening, because we want to think about the upper back being worked rather than the lower back. So a sliding down from the back of the waist downwards, but not just the centre of the back of the waist, the whole width of the back of the waist down towards the lower back, holding that lengthened so that it doesn't overarch. And then bend your right knee. Point your toes up to the ceiling. Going to reach around with your right hand. So your left hand may need to come in front. Reach around with your right hand for your right foot. If it doesn't reach, don't worry, I'll tell you what to do in a second. If it does reach, take a good hold and then turn to the front again. So if it doesn't reach, you're just going to leave it up there and bring your hands back down and do exactly the same as we're doing otherwise. So if you've got a hold, you want to really roll your right shoulder back, as if you're lifting the right shoulder up away from the floor. Relax your arm, relax your leg for a moment, and then feel what it feels like to pull the leg away from you. Feel how it kind of pulls you up. That opening of your knee kind of feeling, like the foot's pulling to the wall behind. Remember that feeling, because we're going to come back to that. But then think about this hip crease under here, how it's lifted up off the floor. Roll it back down onto the floor. Push it firmly down and roll the right shoulder back. So tailbone is lengthened, lower back is lengthened. Right hip crease pushing to the floor, right shoulder rolling back. And if you want, make that action with your right foot as if to pull it away. Feel how that lets your chest lift. So it's almost like you're lifting off your support at the front of your ribs, but it's still there, it's still doing a good job for you. And then relax everything. Let go of your foot, let it come down on the floor. Take a moment, just tuck your chin gently down or let your head hang, relax your shoulders. And then we're going with the left leg. So lift your chest again, bend your left knee. Remember, if you can't reach, you just come back to this position, but you're still going to be pushing the left hip crease down in the floor. If you can reach, take a hold and turn to the front. So be as square to the front as you can. and roll your left shoulder all the way back. It's almost like a squeeze, well, it is a squeeze of your left shoulder blade to smooth out the front of the left shoulder. Left hip crease firm down to the floor and lower back lengthening. So squeeze that hip crease down, whether you've got your foot or not, squeeze it down. And if you want more, you pull the foot away. Keep squeezing the hip crease down, 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 down. Left shoulder still rolling back. The more you pull with your foot, it's strong on your left leg, but your chest starts to lift. And then release. Let go, let your foot come back down to the floor. Have a moment. And you've had a feel of what a support the cushion gives you. If you want to move it or make more or less, then make any adjustments now. We're going to go for full bow pose, Dhanurasana, both legs at the same time. And so this is where you really get the benefit of the support. It lets you it lets you get into this position a lot more easily. So you're going to bend both knees. If you don't want to do the full posture, this is where you stay. If you want to, you reach around. If you don't reach your feet, then bring your arms back down as well. So try and keep your knees from splaying out to the sides. Use that pillow underneath your rib cage. It's really supporting you now. But push your hip creases down. Roll your shoulders back. Find that first bit of tension with your arms and legs still fairly relaxed. Hip creases down, shoulders back. And then if you want to, you pull with your feet. Really squeeze both shoulder blades, get a big lift. Let the legs do the work there, pulling back to roll your shoulders back to lift your chest. And then gently back down. Release your legs. Slide your blocks away forwards. Lie yourself all the way down, make your pillow again. For a small movement when you're completely supported, it's still, when you lie down still, you really feel how it's made you a little bit out of breath. I'm going to come back onto hands and knees to do cat and cow to give a bit of relief for the back. So if you don't like hands and knees, then either stand and use a wall to round your back and arch your back, or sit cross-legged, hands on knees and round and arch. So cat pose, going to tuck the tailbone under, tuck the chin in, dome your back ribs up towards the ceiling. See the arch you're making in your mind's eye. Imagine that it's completely smooth from crown of your head up through the back of your neck, the back of your shoulder blades, back ribs, back of the waist, lower back, tailbone. A perfect arch in your mind's eye. And then release back to neutral. This time an arch in the opposite direction. So tailbone lifts, shoulders lift and roll back. Your face lifts. Smooth again. How could you smooth it out? You could smooth it out by trying to make more curve in your upper back than your lower back. Back through neutral. Back to cat pose. Smoothing this one out. So now you need to make more curve in your lower back than your upper back. Just because of the way the natural curves are. From neutral to cow pose, arching, looking up or looking forwards. And cow pose again. Cat pose again. And then back to neutral. Sit your hips back on your heels or towards them. And as you've got a cushion, if your hips don't go all the way, reach forwards for your cushion. It's quite nice just to slide that under there. Then you've got a bit of, and get it right up, not balanced on your heels, but brought right up, so you've got a bit of support there if you want to. Rest down, make a pillow with your hands or find your block to put your forehead on. Rest on the floor. Make a moment to find a comfy place. So give it the support that you can. Give it the support so that your shoulders can completely relax and your hips can completely relax, your legs. And it's a relaxing pose, so is your face relaxed as well? Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Bring yourself upright. So be careful if you've got cushions behind you. We're going to make our way up to standing. We're going to do a standing pose facing the short end of the mat today. So I'm going to turn my mat. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn my mat like that, I think. So you can face forwards, and you're going to come to stand at the back of your mat, a bit higher. So first warrior is the posture we're going to do today. You're going to take your hands on your hips. Turn your left leg out and step your right leg forwards. A nice big stride forwards. And then I always say when we do first warrior that if you feel a little bit wobbly here, to take your right leg out to the right to have a wider stance. But we're all going to do that today. So take your foot wide. So maybe you've got a hip's distance between them. You don't have to go right to the edges of your mat, but wider than you would normally go if you don't normally step it out. Because then you can feel it's easier to turn your hips square to the front of the mat. It's as if your left hip bone moves closer to the front of the mat, but your left heel digs down into the floor. So you set that leg in place, and then let your tailbone feel heavy, lift your chest. So that left heel digging into the floor. Take a breath in. As you exhale, you're going to bend the right knee slowly, but keep the left heel digging into the floor. And as you bend and dig your left heel into the floor, you're sending your tip of your left thigh bone forwards, because it would like to stay back. So has that allowed you to come down with your hips square? Take your attention to the whole length of your right thigh bone, as if you're going to suck it up into your hip socket. That's the final little squaring of your hips. And the left heel firm on the floor. Have a look down at your right leg. You want your ankle underneath your knee or slightly forwards. Then it doesn't put pressure on your knee. So just creep it forwards if it needs to. Stretch your arms out in front. Straighten your elbows like you did before. So keep the back heel down on the floor. Keep your hips square. Keep your arms straight as you lift them up. If they go a bit wider, that's okay, but keep them straight. So arms are going to stay straight. Back heel's digging into the floor. Hips are square. That right thigh bone tucking into the right hip socket, and tailbone lengthening down. You can look forwards or you can look up towards your fingers. I'm going to take 3 breaths here. So as you breathe in, with your tailbone heavy, think about lifting up through the front of your body as if you're trying to take your fingers with your straight arms a little bit back along the ceiling, a bit of an arch of your back, and then as you exhale, sink your hips. So breath in to lift through the front of your body, back heel still on the floor though. Exhale, sink. One more breath in. One more breath out. If you're looking up, look forwards. And then straighten your right leg. Bring your arms down. Turn your feet, turn your whole body to the left, just where it's more comfortable. Just take a moment there. And then walk your feet together, come back to the back of the mat. And another tip in First Warrior, if you find, because we have to step the foot a long way forwards to get the knee over the ankle, sometimes that means that it's very difficult to keep that back heel on the floor. So seeing as you've got something here, if you're finding that, you could put your back heel on a block, and then it's got something to squeeze down onto. It's much easier to squeeze down, which is what I'm asking you to do with your heel, if it's got something there. If there's like just a millimetre of air between your heel and the mat, that's really hard for it to push down onto. So give it a bit of extra. Or your cushion actually, because that's even shallower. If you just need like a tiny little bit, that's a good thing to give a go with. So hands on hips. Right leg turns out, left leg steps forwards. So if you're using a pillow or a block, make sure that the back heel is on it. Turn your hips square to the front. So this right top of the thigh moves forwards to closer to the front end of the mat, but the right heel digs into the floor. Might make you want to arch your lower back, so try and imagine your tailbone with a heavy weight on it. Take a breath in. As you exhale, bend the left knee slowly, but keep that same action in the right leg. Top of the leg forwards, heel digging down. Once it's there, adjust if you need to keep the foot forwards, knee over ankle. Whole of the length of the left thigh sucks up into the left hip socket. Recheck the right leg, recheck the tailbone. Stretch your arms out in front, lock them straight. So still strong in your legs. Straight arms lift up towards the ceiling. Wide it if they need to, but strong arms. You can look up if you want to, or you can look forwards. You're going to take a breath in and lift your chest. Maybe that takes your arms a little bit further back. As you exhale, you sink in your hips. Check that right leg again. Breath in, lift up. Exhale, sink. Looking good. One more breath in. One more breath out. And then a breath. Look forwards if you're looking up, and then straighten your left leg. Turn to the right. Relax your arms. And then heel toe or step your feet to just a comfortable place. And take a forward fold. Forward fold with a knee bend to stretch the lower back. Hands on hips. Feet hip distance apart. Take a breath in to lift your chest. And a breath out to hinge forwards, like you did in the diver's balance pose. When you can't go any further, that's when you bend your knees. And once you've given a good knee bend, then just let your upper body give way to gravity. Let go of your hips. Take hold of the opposite elbow with each hand. Ground your feet into the floor. See how much more your upper body can give to gravity. No resisting. The more knee bend you give, the more stretch you get over your lower back. Release your elbows. Good deeper bend of your knees. Tuck your tailbone under, tuck your chin towards your chest. Roll yourself back up. We're going to finish lying down on our backs on the floor, but find your belt, have that to hand as you lie yourself back down. And then take a moment to lie on your back to have a rest. Feeling the effects of gravity again on the floor. So the more you can let go, the more you sink comfortably. Bend your knees, feet onto the mat, and then both knees onto your chest. Take a hand on each knee, draw them in nice and close, maybe even pull your tailbone up off the floor, and then have a rock side to side. Make any movement if you've got a tender lower back, because we've done the bow pose and first warrior, they're both tough on your lower back, so just make sure it's got any movement that it needs to get it back in its comfortable place. And then bring both feet onto the floor. Feel the comfortable place of your lower back. Feel where that is. Maybe it's a little bit light underneath the back of your waist, where that natural curve is. For most of us, some people are flatter than others, but it won't be heavy push down into the floor. And when we stretch a leg up in a moment, we're going to try and keep that slight lightness at the back of the waist, because the reason that it will want to pull down is because your hips will tilt backwards, like the front of the hips tip up towards you. Feel how that happens. If you raise your tailbone, tilt your hips back, the lower back pushes down into the floor. And if you relax back again, the lower back gently lifts up. So when you lift a leg, when you lift a knee up towards you, there's a temptation to bring it closer than the thigh bone in the hip socket wants to go, and tilt the hips as well. But we don't need to do that. We're just going to think about the leg, lifting the leg. So right knee to chest, loop your belt around your right foot, and then extend it up towards the ceiling. Take the belt in both hands so that you can climb your hands up the belt, and then separate the ends of the belt, one hand in either end of the belt. Straighten your leg, find what angle it needs to be straight. So it doesn't have to be vertical, it can be right out, wherever it is to be straight, make it as straight as it can. And although your hands are holding as high up the belt as they can comfortably reach, your shoulders relax back down to the floor. So there's no tension in your chest. Your shoulders and your upper body are relaxed. And then with that leg straight and angled as high as it will go but staying straight, think to your back again. If the back of your waist is sunk to the floor, then you've tucked your hips under to give your leg that lift. You don't need to do that because no one's measuring how high you lift your leg. So just see if you can make your hips in their neutral position, which you can test by your back being in its neutral position, and re-stretch your leg. If you want to, you can extend the left leg along the mat. Push the heel away, squeeze the back of the thigh towards the floor. So that's a slightly harder position, but the only reason it's harder is because it pulls your hips back, because stretching out that left leg you can't have your hips tucked under to do that. So it's encouraging your hips back to their neutral position. So actually it's a better position to be in, because it's more now about the right thigh in its ball and socket joint with your hip. So stretch the leg open, push the heel up to the ceiling, but keep the tip of the thigh bone, the hip, heavy on the floor. And the leg come closer in towards you. Both legs are straight. And take both ends of the belt in your right hand, as high up as you can comfortably reach. Left arm out to the side, palm face up. So ground the left leg down to the floor. Take a breath in. As you exhale, just take the right leg a little bit directly out to the right, just a little bit. Keep it as if it's magnetised to the wall beyond your head, so it doesn't go any further away from that wall. And then extend the loop of the belt by sliding your hands down towards the floor. Get your elbow on the floor. Make sure your left hip is grounded. Maybe you can take your right leg more out to the right, but keep it straight. Keep both legs straight. Keep your left hip down on the floor. A good stretch down the back of both legs. And pick up your right elbow so that your right arm can guide your leg back to the centre. Once it gets to the centre, take a hold with your left hand instead. Right arm out to the side. This time we're going to twist. It's all about having a long, straight sort of axle to twist along. So from your head to your left heel, that's your axle. Keep that straight. Take a breath in. As you exhale, take the right leg over to the left, but let that axle roll over to the left as well. Everything rolls to the left apart from your shoulders and arms. Just see how far it wants to go. Again, slip more length in your belt so you get your elbow on the floor. Then your belt is supporting your leg. Straighten your left leg. Make that central axle strong and straight. Left little toe is on the floor. Right heel is pushing out for the wall to your left. Right fingertips are reaching back in the opposite direction. Like a three-way stretch. Both heels and your right fingers. And you're going to bend both knees. Let go of the belt. This is where you're rolling back to the centre. So find your way back gently. When you get back, place both feet on the floor. Find your belt again. We're going to bring the left knee to chest and loop the belt around the left foot. So same on the left leg. Stretch it up towards the ceiling when you're ready. Climb your hands as high as they'll comfortably go, so your elbows are straight, but then relax your shoulders back down onto the floor. So find a straight left leg. Doesn't matter what angle it is, get it straight, and then you can work to angle it a little closer towards you. Straightness is key though. So your left heel is pushing away. Feel your back on the floor. So you know your hips are not rolling up any more than you absolutely can't resist. Because it's okay to know that if you feel like your lower back is pressed to the floor and you can't do anything about it, that's okay, because knowing about it is the start of being able to make the little bit of change. So it's not thinking, well, I can't do it. It's thinking this is where it's going to make a little bit of change. And then you can stretch your right leg out along the floor. So both legs are straight, both heels are pushing away. You're lengthening your left leg and you're angling your left leg in towards you. Never wants to stay straight. There's always a little bit more length you can find in the back of the leg. Take both ends of the belt in your left hand. Right arm out to the side. Keep both legs straight. This time your right hip will probably want to lift off the floor, so squeeze it down. Take a breath in. As you exhale, just take your left leg a little bit out to the left. Remember, it's not going to go anywhere any closer to the wall beyond your feet, your right foot. Just see where it wants to go. Make some more length. Get your elbow, left elbow on the floor. So then the belt supports your leg at any height, so you can still lower it once you've got that support from the belt. Left hip rolling back down to the floor. Push your left heel away, maybe even rotate your left heel up towards the ceiling if you feel you've got that ability. Long underside of the left leg. And we're still out to the side, Pat and Jim. So you're going to pick up your left elbow, guide your leg back to the centre. And then swap over hands. Right hand holds the belt, left arm out to the side. Feel your centre axle from your right heel to your head. Straighten it, lengthen it, tighten it. Take a breath in. Exhale, roll it over. Take the left leg over to the right, but your left arm and shoulder stay on the floor. Right elbow lands on the floor, then you can adjust. Then you get that opportunity to re-straighten the left leg, push the heel away. Right leg, sorry. Your right little toe should be in contact with the floor. And then there's that three-way stretch, both heels pushing away and your left fingers pulling opposite your left foot. And you bend your knees as you release the belt. Gently roll onto your back. Bring your feet onto the mat. So lose the belt. Let your knees drop from left to right. And then let them rest at the centre. You can stay with your knees bent if you would like to, or you can stretch your legs out. In fact, bend your knees again. Let's roll to one side. Let's come up to sitting. Seeing as we've got the cushions and pillows and stuff, I would suggest you make yourself a nice little support. So if you have a cushion underneath, that's going to go underneath your upper back, a block for the back of your head. You may need a cushion on the top of that one as well. You may want that one to be higher than this one. So the head one to be higher than the back one. If you don't want to, you don't have to, that's fine. But then sit a little bit in front of your forward one so that you can rest your upper back on your cushion and let your head rest on your block, or block and other cushion, or two blocks. Make it comfy so you don't have to be your head doesn't have to hang back. You just make it a comfortable position, and then rock your shoulders so that you can slide your shoulder blades comfortably down, so it's like your ears are well away from your shoulders are well away from your ears. And then bend your knees, bring your feet onto the mat, slide your tailbone away from you. It's like pick up your hips, lengthen your lower back, rest it back down on the floor. And you can stay with your legs bent, or you can then straighten your legs one at a time out. And then close your eyes. It should feel like you've got openness through the front of your chest. The opportunity to breathe deeply. So you're in control of your breath. You choose how the pace of your breath, how deep your breath is. The support underneath you maybe gives your shoulders an opportunity to completely release backwards, where they often want to float up a little bit away from the floor. Now they can relax back. Bring your attention back to your body lying on the floor. Bend your knees if they're not bent. Know which side you've got some space. You're going to very gently roll onto that side, all the way off everything that you're on. And then from there, very gently make your way back up to sitting. So careful of the bits that you've got around you. Namaste. Thank you for joining me.